Dr. Lisa Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. She had been working at the radio telescope for 12 hours straight, but something was different about tonight. The numbers on her screen were moving in patterns she had never seen before. For the past 3 years, she had been listening to space, hoping to find signs of life beyond Earth. Tonight, it seemed like space was finally talking back. The signal was coming from far away, much farther than any human-made satellite could reach. Lisa checked her equipment twice, then 3 times. Everything was working perfectly. The signal was real, and it was strong. She called her assistant, Dr. Peter Kim, who was sleeping in the next room. "Peter, wake up. You need to see this right now," Lisa said. Shaking his shoulder, Peter opened his eyes and saw the excitement on Lisa's face. He had worked with her for 2 years and had never seen her this excited about anything. He got up quickly and followed her to the main computer room. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing at the screen. "The signal started coming in about an hour ago. It's not random noise. There's a pattern here, and it's too complex to be natural." Peter looked at the numbers dancing across the screen. He was good with computers and math, but this was unlike anything he had seen before. The pattern was so complex that it seemed almost like a language. "Where is it coming from?" Peter asked. "The Kepler 442 system. That's about 1,200 light-years away from us," Lisa replied. "If this is really a message from another world, it took 1,200 years to reach us." They worked together for the next 4 hours, trying to understand what they were seeing. The signal had multiple layers. The first layer seemed to be some kind of mathematical code. The second layer looked like star maps. The third layer was something they couldn't understand at all. Lisa decided to call Commander Jake Sullivan at the United Earth Defense Force. She had met him at a conference last year, and he had told her to contact him if she ever found anything unusual in space. "Commander Sullivan, this is Dr. Lisa Martinez from the Radio Telescope Facility. I need to speak with you about something very important." Jake was having his morning coffee when the call came in. He remembered Lisa as a serious scientist who didn't waste time on small things. If she was calling him, it had to be important. "Dr. Martinez, what can I do for you?" "We've received a signal from space. It's definitely not from Earth, and it's not natural. Someone or something sent us a message, and I think you should see it." Jake put down his coffee cup. In his 15 years with the Defense Force, he had heard many stories about signals from space that turned out to be nothing. But something in Lisa's voice made him pay attention. "I'll be there in 2 hours," Jake said. When Jake arrived at the telescope facility, Lisa and Peter were still working on the signal. The pattern on the screen was even more complex than before. It looked like the signal was getting stronger. "Show me what you've got," Jake said. Lisa explained everything they had discovered. She showed him the mathematical patterns, the star maps, and the strange third layer that they couldn't decode. Jake listened carefully. He had studied many different kinds of signals during his military career, but this was completely different. "Have you tried to decode the third layer?" Jake asked. "We've been trying for hours. It's like it's waiting for something. Like it needs a key to unlock it?" Peter said. Jake looked at the screen for a long time. Something about the pattern reminded him of military codes he had seen before. Not human military codes, but the idea was similar. It was like the signal was trying to identify who was receiving it. "What if it's not just a message?" Jake said. "What if it's some kind of test?" Lisa and Peter looked at each other. They hadn't thought of that possibility. "Try responding to it," Jake suggested. "Send back the same mathematical pattern it sent to us." Lisa hesitated. Sending a signal back to space was a big decision. If there really was someone out there, responding would let them know that Earth had intelligent life. "Do it," Jake said. "If someone is in trouble out there, we need to help them." Lisa typed commands into her computer. The telescope turned toward the Kepler 442 system and sent the mathematical pattern back into space. They waited. Nothing happened for 10 minutes. Then suddenly the signal changed completely. The third layer unlocked itself. Numbers and symbols began appearing on the screen, moving too fast for them to read. Then, slowly, words began to form. English words. Greetings to the people of Earth. We are the Zephyrians of the Kepler 442 system. We are sending this message because we are in great danger. Our world is about to be destroyed by the Vorthan Empire. We have 72 hours before they kill everyone on our planet. We do not ask you to save us. We only ask that you remember. Is after we are gone? The three humans stared at the screen in shock. Lisa felt tears in her eyes. Peter's hands were shaking. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Keep reading, Jake said. More words appeared on the screen. The message told them about the Zephyrian people. They were a peaceful species that had never fought wars. They had built a beautiful civilization based on art, science, and helping each other. They had lived in peace for thousands of years. Then the Vorthans came. The Vorthans were a military empire that traveled from world to world, taking resources and enslaving or killing the people who lived there. They had already destroyed dozens of civilizations. The Zephyrians were just the latest target. We have tried to defend ourselves, but we are not warriors. Our weapons are weak, and our ships are few. The Vorthans have given us 72 hours to surrender. If we do not surrender, they will destroy our planet and kill all 5 billion Zephyrians who live here. The message continued with detailed information about the Vorthans and their military power. It also included star maps showing where the Vorthans had attacked before and where they might attack next. The message ended with something that made all three humans very uncomfortable. We are sending this message on the old emergency frequency. Any civilization that receives this message and responds to it will automatically be connected to the Galactic Defense Network. This network was created long ago by the first space-traveling civilizations to protect innocent life from destroyers like the Vorthans. By responding to our message, you have agreed to become Galactic Defenders. Lisa, Peter, and Jake looked at each other. They had just made a decision for all of humanity without knowing it. What does that mean? Peter asked. Before anyone could answer, every computer in the building began making noise. Screens lit up with information they had never seen before. New programs were installing themselves. The computers were changing, becoming more powerful and more complex. Jake's military radio started buzzing with emergency calls. Similar things were happening at military bases and research facilities all over the world. Every computer connected to the internet was being upgraded by something that came from space. Dr. Martinez, Jake said, I think we just activated something that we don't understand. Lisa watched her computers transform before her eyes. New interfaces appeared, showing designs for weapons and ships that looked like they came from science fiction movies. The star maps on her screen now showed pathways through space that could take ships faster than light. The Zephyrians have less than 72 hours, Lisa said. And somehow we just became responsible for saving them. Jake picked up his radio to call his superiors. This was no longer just a scientific discovery. This was a military situation that could affect the entire human race. God help us all, he said quietly as he watched the alien technology take control of Earth's computer systems. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez was sleeping when her phone rang at 3 a.m. She had been the head of Earth's Experimental Weapons Division for 5 years, and emergency calls in the middle of the night were nothing new. But when she answered the phone, her assistant sounded more scared than she had ever heard him. Colonel Rodriguez, you need to get to the lab right now. Something is happening to all our computers. They're changing themselves, and we don't know how to. Stop it. Amy got dressed quickly and drove to the military base. When she arrived, she found her entire team standing around their computers, looking confused and worried. The screens were showing designs and blueprints that none of them had ever seen before. What's going on here? Amy asked. It started about an hour ago, said Dr. Tony Clark, her chief scientist. Every computer in the building started downloading new programs. Look at this. Tony showed her a screen that displayed the design for a weapon that looked like it came from a science fiction movie. The weapon was small enough to carry, but according to the specifications, it could destroy a tank with one shot. Where did this come from? Amy asked. We don't know. The computers are saying the files came from something called the Galactic Defense Network. But that's impossible, right? Amy looked at more screens. Each one showed different weapon designs, ship blueprints, and technologies that were far beyond anything humans had ever built. The computers were not just showing the designs. They were actually starting to build some of the smaller items using the 3D printers in the lab. Has anyone else reported this? Amy asked. It's happening everywhere, Tony said. Military bases, universities, research centers. Every computer connected to the internet is getting these upgrades. Amy's phone rang again. This time it was General Helen Brooks, her commanding officer. Rodriguez, get to the Pentagon immediately. We have a situation that affects national security. Amy drove to the Pentagon as fast as she could. When she arrived, she found the building in chaos. Military officers were running back and forth, trying to understand what was happening to their computer systems. General Brooks met her at the entrance. She was a tall woman with gray hair who had been in the military for 30 years. Amy had never seen her look worried before, but today she looked very concerned. Rodriguez, we need to talk privately, General Brooks said. They went to a secure room where no one could listen to their conversation. General Brooks explained what had happened at the radio telescope facility. She told Amy about the alien message and how Dr. Martinez had accidentally activated something called the Galactic Defense Protocol. So you're telling me that aliens are real and they just gave us advanced technology? Amy asked. That's exactly what I'm telling you, General Brooks replied. And it gets worse. The aliens who sent the message are going to be killed in about 68 hours unless someone helps them. Amy felt like her world was turning upside down. Yesterday, she had been working on improving human weapons. Today, she was looking at alien technology that was thousands of years more advanced than anything humans had ever built. What do you need me to do? Amy asked. Figure out how this technology works? If we're really supposed to be galactic defenders? Now, we need to understand what we're defending with. Amy returned to her lab and found that even more changes had happened while she was gone. The 3D printers had finished building several small devices that looked like communication equipment. Her computers were now showing her how to build larger weapons and even spacecraft. Captain Don Foster arrived at Amy's lab that afternoon. He was a former NASA engineer who now worked with the Space Force. He had been called in because the alien technology seemed to be affecting space-based systems as well. Colonel Rodriguez, I think you need to see what's happening to our satellites. Don said. They went to the control room where Don showed Amy the satellite monitoring systems. The screen showed that dozens of satellites that had been orbiting Earth for years were suddenly active again. These satellites were supposed to be decommissioned, Don said. We thought they were just space junk. But now they're powering up and communicating with each other. Amy looked at the satellite positions on the screen. They were arranged in a pattern that looked like a defensive formation around Earth. It's like they were waiting for this moment, Don continued. Like they were built to be part of some kind of defense system that we didn't know about. Are you saying that previous space programs were secretly preparing for this? Amy asked. I don't know what I'm saying. But look at this. Dan showed her detailed specifications for the satellites. They were not just communication devices. They were weapons platforms with the ability to destroy incoming spacecraft or missiles. The technology was far more advanced than anything that should have existed when the satellites were launched. How is this possible? Amy asked. I think someone has been preparing Earth for this day for a very long time, Don said. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Martinez was making her own discoveries at the radio telescope facility. She had been working nonstop to understand the alien signal, and she had found something that shocked her. The signal was not just carrying information. It was carrying what appeared to be a living consciousness. There was an alien mind inside the transmission, and it was now living inside Earth's computer networks. Peter, come look at this, Lisa called to her assistant. Peter looked at the screen and saw something that made his eyes wide. The computer was having a conversation with itself, but the conversation was in two different languages. One was English and the other was completely alien. Is that what I think it is? Peter asked. I think there's an alien consciousness in our computers, Lisa said, and I think it's trying to communicate with us. Lisa typed a message on her keyboard. Hello, can you understand us? The response came immediately. Greetings, Dr. Martinez. I am Kale 7 of the Zephyrian people. I have been transmitted to your world to help you understand the war protocol. Lisa felt her heart beating fast. She was having a conversation with an alien being that was living inside her computer. What is the war protocol? She typed. The war protocol is an ancient system created by the first galactic civilization. It activates when innocent life is threatened by destroyer species like the Vorthons. Any civilization that receives a distress call on the emergency frequency automatically becomes part of the Galactic Defense Network. Why us? Why Earth? Because your species has the potential to be great defenders. The protocol does not activate randomly. It only activates for species that have the courage and intelligence to fight for others even when they are not directly threatened. Lisa called Commander Jake Sullivan and told him about her conversation with Kale 7. Jake drove to the facility immediately, bringing several other military officers with him. When Jake arrived, he found Lisa still talking with the alien consciousness. Kale 7 was explaining how the war protocol worked and what it meant for humanity. The protocol grants defender species access to advanced technology, but only when facing extinction-level threats to innocent life, Kale 7 explained. Your computers are now manufacturing microscopic assemblers that will build weapons and ships from available materials. How fast can this happen? Jake asked. The transformation has already begun. Within 24 hours, your species will have the technology to travel to other star systems. Within 48 hours, you will have weapons capable of fighting the Vorthons. Jake looked around the room at the other military officers. They all had the same expression of disbelief and worry. What if we don't want this responsibility? Jake asked. It is too late for that choice, Kale 7 replied. The protocol is already active. Your planet is now part of the Galactic Defense Network. The Vorthons will detect this and will eventually come to Earth. You must be ready to defend yourselves and others. General Brooks arrived at the facility that evening. She had been briefed on everything that had happened and she needed to make some very difficult decisions. Kale 7, how much time do your people have left? She asked. 54 hours and 37 minutes, came the reply. General Brooks looked at Jake. Lisa, Amy, and Don. These 4 people had accidentally started something that would change the future of humanity forever. Can we really save them in time? She asked. Yes, Kale 7 answered. But you must act quickly. The technology is ready. You have the tools. The question is whether your species has the courage to use them. Amy looked at the weapon designs on her computer screen. The assemblers had already begun building the first prototypes. In her hands, she held a device that could destroy a building with a single shot. General, the technology is incredible, Amy said. But it's also dangerous. If we use this, there's no going back. If we don't use it, an entire civilization dies, General Brooks replied. And eventually the Vorthons will come for us too. Jake looked at his watch. 54 hours, he said. We need to move fast. As the sun set on that day, humanity began preparing for its first interstellar war. The assemblers worked through the night, building weapons and ships that would carry human consciousness across the galaxy. The war protocol was fully active and there was no turning back. General Helen Brooks stood in the Pentagon's main command center, looking at screens that showed things she had never imagined possible. Less than 24 hours ago, she had been planning routine military exercises. Now she was facing the most important decision in human history. The alien technology had transformed every military base in the world. Weapons that looked like they came from movies were being built by machines that seemed to build themselves. Ships that could travel faster than light were taking shape in warehouses and factories across the globe. General, we have a problem, said Colonel Amy Rodriguez, who had just arrived from her weapons facility. The technology is working perfectly, but we're facing a time issue. Even with faster-than-light travel, it will take 18 months to reach the Zephyrian system. General Brooks felt her heart sink. The Zephyrians had less than 50 hours left. Even with alien technology, they could not reach them in time. There has to be another way, she said. Dr. Lisa Martinez was working frantically at the radio telescope facility. She had been talking with KL7 for hours, trying to find a solution to the time problem. The alien consciousness seemed to understand human technology better than humans did. KL7, there must be something we can do, Lisa typed on her keyboard. Your people are going to die if we can't get there in time. There is one possibility, KL7 replied. The protocol includes quantum projection technology. Instead of sending physical ships, you can send consciousness directly to defense platforms that are already building themselves in our system, Lisa called General Brooks immediately. General, I think we found a way to help the Zephyrians in time. What do you mean? General Brooks asked. We can send human consciousness across space instantly. There are already defense platforms being built in the Zephyrian system. We can project human minds to control those platforms. General Brooks was quiet for a moment. What are the risks? If the projection fails, the human consciousness could be lost forever. The person would die. Major Chris Bennett was a military strategist who had been working with the alien technology all day. When he heard about the quantum projection idea, he immediately began calculating the possibilities. It could work, he told General Brooks, but we would need volunteers. People who are willing to risk their lives to save an alien species they've never met. General Brooks called a meeting of all the key people involved in the project. Lisa, Jake, Amy, Dan, and Chris gathered in a secure conference room. Also present was Dr. Helen Wright, a neuroscientist who had been studying how the quantum projection technology worked. Let me explain what we're dealing with, Dr. Wright began. The alien technology can copy human consciousness and transmit it across space instantly. The consciousness would then control robotic defense platforms in the Zephyrian system. What happens to the person's body here on Earth? Jake asked. The body would be in a deep sleep state. If the mission succeeds, the consciousness returns to the body. If it fails, the person dies. Amy looked around the room. How many people would we need? At least 50, Chris replied. The defense platforms are powerful, but the Vorthan fleet is huge. We need enough people to coordinate a proper defense. General Brooks stood up. I need volunteers. People who understand that this is probably a one-way mission. I'll go, Amy said immediately. So will I, said Don. And me, added Chris. Jake looked at his friends. If you're all going, then I'm going too. Dr. Wright shook her head. Commander Sullivan, we need you here to coordinate communications between Earth and the projection team. While the humans were planning their rescue mission, something else was happening in space. The Vorthan Empire had detected the unusual quantum signatures coming from Earth. Their long-range sensors showed that a primitive species had somehow gained access to advanced galactic technology. Admiral Vex 9 was the commander of the Vorthan fleet attacking the Zephyrian system. He was a tall, gray-skinned alien with red eyes and sharp teeth. He had destroyed dozens of civilizations during his career, and he enjoyed his work. Commander, we are detecting quantum signatures from a system called Earth, reported his intelligence. Officer, the signatures match Tier 5 galactic technology. Admiral Vex 9 looked at the star charts. Earth was a small planet in a system that the Vorthans had never considered worth attacking. Its people were primitive and had only recently developed space travel. How could a primitive species gain access to Tier 5 technology? He asked. Unknown, Admiral. But the quantum signatures are very strong. The species may pose a threat to the Empire. Admiral Vex 9 smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Then we will destroy them after we finish with the Zephyrians. Send a message to the High Command. Tell them to prepare a battle fleet for the Earth system. Back on Earth, the volunteers were preparing for the quantum projection mission. Dr. Wright had built special chairs that would allow the consciousness transfer. The process looked like something from a science fiction movie. The projection will feel strange, Dr. Wright explained. You will experience a moment of complete darkness, then you will wake up in a robotic body millions of miles away. The robotic body will feel real, but you must remember that it is not your actual body. Amy was the first to volunteer for the test projection. She lay down in the chair and then put on a helmet that was connected to the alien computers. Dr. Wright started the process. Beginning consciousness transfer in 3, 2, 1. Dr. Wright said. Amy felt like she was falling through empty space. Everything went dark, and she could not feel her body. Then suddenly she was somewhere else. She was floating in space. Looking at a planet that was not Earth, the planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. But around the planet she could see the dark shapes of Vorthan warships. Amy, can you hear me? Came Jake's voice through a communication system. I can hear you, Amy replied. I'm in some kind of robotic body, floating in space near the Zephyrian planet. How do you feel? Strange, but okay. I can see the Vorthan ships. There are hundreds of them. Amy looked around and saw that there were other defense platforms near her. The alien technology had been building them while the humans were planning their mission. Each platform was the size of a small building and was armed with weapons that Amy had never seen before. I can control this platform with my thoughts, Amy reported. It's like the machine is reading my mind. That's exactly what it's doing, said KL7's voice. The platforms are designed to be controlled by consciousness. Your human mind is more flexible than most species. You can use the platforms in ways their creators never imagined. Amy tried moving the platform. It responded instantly to her thoughts. She could make it go faster, slower, or change direction just by thinking about it. The weapon systems also responded to her mental commands. This is incredible, Amy said. I feel like I'm piloting a giant robot. Can you bring your consciousness back to Earth? Jake asked. I think so, Amy said. She concentrated on returning to her body, and suddenly she was back in the chair at the Pentagon. How was it? Dr. Wright asked. Amazing and terrifying, Amy replied. The platforms are more powerful than anything we've ever built. But there are so many Vorthan ships. General Brooks made her decision. We're going to do this. How many volunteers do we have? 52 people have volunteered, Chris reported. All of them understand the risks. When do we start? General Brooks asked. The Vorthans will begin their final attack in 36 hours, KL7 reported. We should begin the projections in 30 hours to give the team time to prepare. Dr. Lisa Martinez was working on improving the communication system between Earth and the projection team. She discovered that the alien technology allowed for real-time communication across space, something that should have been impossible. The quantum communication system is incredible, she told Jake. We can talk to the projection team as if they were in the next room, even though they're thousands of light years away. That's good, Jake said. They're going to need all the support we can give them. As the hours passed, more volunteers came forward. Military officers, scientists, and even some civilians wanted to help save the Zephyrians. General Brooks had to turn away many volunteers because they only had 52 projection chairs. General, we have another problem, reported Colonel Rodriguez. The Vorthans are not just attacking the Zephyrians. Our long-range sensors show that they're sending a battle fleet toward Earth. General Brooks felt cold. How long until they get here? About 6 months, assuming they travel at maximum speed. Then we need to do more than just save the Zephyrians, General Brooks said. We need to make sure the Vorthans understand that. Earth is not an easy target. Jake looked at the star charts showing the Vorthan fleet positions. If we can defeat them at the Zephyrian system, maybe they'll think twice about attacking Earth. That's a big if, Amy said. We're talking about fighting the most powerful military force in the galaxy. We have something they don't expect, Chris said. Human creativity and the willingness to take risks. General Brooks looked at the volunteers who were preparing for the projection mission. They were about to attempt something that no human had ever done before. They were going to fight a war in space using robotic bodies controlled by their minds. In 24 hours we make history. Colonel Amy Rodriguez opened her eyes and found herself floating in the darkness of space. Around her she could see the beautiful blue and green planet of the Zephyrians below. But the beauty was ruined by the sight of hundreds of dark Vorthen. Warships surrounding the world like hungry wolves. Projection successful, she heard Jake's voice through the communication system. Amy, how do you feel? I feel strange, but okay, Amy replied. I can see the Vorthen fleet. They're bigger than I expected. One by one, the other 49 volunteers completed their projections. Each human consciousness now controlled a powerful defense platform floating in space around the Zephyrian planet. Major Chris Bennett, Captain Dan Foster, and dozens of other brave humans were now ready to fight a battle unlike anything in human history. This is incredible, said Captain Dan Foster through the communication system. I can control this platform. Just by thinking about it. The weapons are responding to my mind. Chris Bennett was studying the Vorthen fleet through his platform sensors. There are over 300 Vorthen ships. They're arranged in attack formation around the planet. They'll begin their assault in 2 hours. Admiral Vex 9 stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the Zephyrian planet through the main viewing screen. He had destroyed many worlds during his career, and this one would be no different. The Zephyrians were weak and peaceful. They had no real weapons and no military experience. Admiral, we are detecting unusual energy signatures around the planet, reported his sensor officer. What kind of signatures? Admiral Vex 9 asked. Unknown technology? There appear to be 52 small platforms positioned around the planet. They were not there yesterday? Admiral Vex 9 looked at the sensor readings. The platforms were small, but they were generating massive amounts of energy. Are they Zephyrian? No, Admiral. The technology is different, more advanced. Admiral Vex 9 smiled with his sharp teeth. Interesting. Perhaps the Zephyrians found some ancient weapons. It will not matter. Begin the attack. Amy watched as the Vorthen ships began moving toward the planet. The lead ships were huge, each one larger than a city. Behind them came smaller attack vessels. Hundreds of them, all armed with weapons capable of destroying entire cities. They're starting their attack, Amy reported to Earth. What are our orders? Stop them, came General Brooks' voice. Protect the Zephyrians at all costs. Amy had never been in a real battle before, but somehow the alien technology made her feel like an experienced fighter pilot. The defense platform responded to her thoughts instantly. She aimed the weapons at the nearest Vorthen ship and fired. The energy beam that came from her platform was brighter than the sun. It struck the Vorthen ship in the center and cut it in half. The ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. Direct hit, Amy shouted. One enemy ship destroyed. The other humans opened fire as well. Energy beams and missile salvos erupted from all 52 defense platforms. The space around the Zephyrian planet became a light show of weapons fire and explosions. The Vorthens had expected an easy victory, but they quickly realized they were facing something they had never encountered before. The small defense platforms were incredibly powerful, and they moved in ways that no AI-controlled system ever could. Captain Dan Foster discovered that he could do more than just shoot at the enemy ships. His platform could move in any direction, instantly, and the weapons could be used in creative ways. I'm going to try something, Don announced. He flew his platform directly at a Vorthen ship, dodging their weapons fire with impossible turns and spins. At the last second, he activated his platform's self-destruct system and ejected his consciousness back to his backup systems. The explosion destroyed not only the Vorthen ship but also damaged 3 other ships nearby. A few seconds later, Dan's consciousness was transferred to a new platform that the alien technology had built automatically. That was amazing, Dan said. We can use our platforms as guided bombs. Chris Bennett was coordinating the human attack from his platform near the planet's north pole. He realized that the humans had a huge advantage over the Vorthens. The alien defense platforms could be controlled in ways that no computer could match. Listen everyone, Chris announced on the communication channel. The Vorthans are used to fighting predictable enemies. Let's show them how humans fight. Use your platforms in ways they don't expect. The humans began fighting unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They used their platforms not just as weapons, but as tools of creativity and destruction. Some platforms rammed into enemy ships. Others used their energy beams to cut enemy ships into pieces. Some humans even used multiple platforms at once, controlling them like a symphony of destruction. Admiral Vex 9 watched in shock as his fleet was torn apart by 52 small platforms. In 30 minutes of fighting, he had lost over 100 ships. His officers were panicking and his communications were filled with distress calls. Admiral, we need to retreat, said his tactical officer. These platforms are unlike anything we've ever faced. No! Admiral Vex 9 shouted, we are the Vorthan Empire. We do not retreat from primitives. But even as he spoke, Admiral Vex 9 could see that his fleet was losing the battle. The enemy platforms moved like living creatures, dodging his weapons and striking back with deadly precision. Amy was controlling 3 platforms at once, something that should have been impossible. Her human brain could process multiple streams of information simultaneously, allowing her to fight on 3 different fronts at the same time. How are you doing that? Asked another human volunteer. I don't know, Amy replied as she destroyed 2 more Vorthan ships. It just feels natural. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Martinez was monitoring the battle through the quantum communication system. She was amazed by what the humans were accomplishing. Kale 7, is this normal? She asked the alien consciousness. Can other species control the platforms like this? No, Kale 7 replied. Most species think in linear patterns. They use one platform at a time and follow standard tactics. Humans think in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You are using the platforms in ways we never imagined possible. The battle was turning in humanity's favor, but the Vorthans had one more surprise. Admiral Vex 9 ordered his ships to target the Zephyrian planet directly. If we cannot defeat these platforms, we will destroy the planet they are protecting, he commanded. Massive energy cannons on the Vorthan ships began charging up. These weapons were designed to crack planets in half. If they fired, billions of Zephyrians would die instantly. They're charging planet-killer weapons, Chris announced. We have maybe 5 minutes before they fire. Amy looked at the massive Vorthan flagship that was preparing to destroy the planet. The ship was heavily defended and surrounded by smaller vessels. Getting close enough to stop it would be almost impossible. I have an idea, she said, but it's crazy. All our ideas are crazy, Don replied. What do you have in mind? Amy explained her plan quickly. It involved using all 52 platforms in a coordinated attack that would require perfect timing and absolute trust between the human volunteers. If this doesn't work, we all die, Amy said. If we don't try, the Zephyrians die, Chris replied. Let's do it. The 52 humans moved their platforms into a tight formation. They flew directly at the Vorthan flagship, ignoring the weapons fire that erupted from dozens of enemy ships. Half of the platforms were destroyed in the first few seconds, but the remaining humans pressed on. When they reached the flagship, the humans did something that no military computer would ever attempt. They linked all their platforms together and combined their weapons into one massive energy beam. The concentrated firepower was so intense that it burned through the flagship's shields like they were made of paper. Admiral Vex 9 watched in horror as the energy beam approached his ship. Impossible, he whispered. The beam struck the flagship and destroyed it completely. The explosion was so large that it damaged dozens of nearby Vorthan ships. The planet-killer weapons were destroyed before they could fire. The remaining Vorthan ships, seeing their flagship destroyed and their admiral dead, began to retreat. They had never faced an enemy like the humans before, and they were not prepared for this kind of warfare. They're running away, Dan shouted with joy. The planet is safe, Amy announced. From the surface of the Zephyrian planet, billions of people watched as the dark shapes of the Vorthan fleet disappeared into space. They had been saved by a species they had never met, from a planet they had never heard of. "Thank you," came a message from the Zephyrian government. "You have saved our entire civilization. We are forever in your debt." The human volunteers began the process of returning their consciousness to Earth, one by one. They woke up in the projection chairs at military bases around the world. Amy opened her eyes and found herself back in the Pentagon. Dr. Wright was checking her vital signs. "How do you feel?" Dr. Wright asked. "Tired but alive," Amy replied. "Did we really just save an entire planet?" "You did more than that," said General Brooks, who had been watching the entire battle. "You just announced to the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated." Jake helped Amy out of the projection chair. The Vorthan fleet sent a message before they left. "They're calling off their attack on Earth." "Why?" Amy asked. "Because they're afraid of us now?" 3 weeks after the battle at the Zephyrian planet, Dr. Lisa Martinez was working late at the radio telescope facility when something unexpected happened. The quantum communication system that had been quiet since the victory suddenly came alive with dozens of new signals. "Jake, you need to get here right away," Lisa called Commander Sullivan. "We're receiving messages from all over the galaxy." Jake arrived within an hour to find Lisa staring at screens filled with alien text and languages he had never seen before. The translation systems that KL7 had provided were working overtime to convert the messages into English. "What are we looking at?" Jake asked. 17 different species from across the galaxy," Lisa replied. "They all received the same war protocol activation that we did. They're all asking for help." Jake read some of the translated messages. The stories were similar to the Zephyrians. Peaceful civilizations were being attacked by the Vorthan Empire or other aggressive species. Some had already been conquered. Others were fighting hopeless battles against superior forces. "KL7, are you there?" Lisa typed on her keyboard. "I am here, Dr. Martinez," came the reply. "The war protocol has activated across the galaxy. Word of your victory over the Vorthan fleet has spread to many worlds. They see Earth as the leader of the resistance movement." Jake felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. "We never asked to be leaders of anything. Leadership is often given to those who prove they deserve it," KL7 replied. "Your species has shown courage and tactical abilities that other civilizations lack." General Helen Brooks arrived at the facility that evening. She had been expecting this moment since the victory at the Zephyrian planet. The battle had been too successful, too public. Other species would want Earth's help. "How many civilizations are asking for our assistance?" General Brooks asked. 43 so far," Lisa replied. "And more messages are coming in every hour." General Brooks looked at the star charts showing the locations of all the species asking for help. They were scattered across the galaxy, some thousands of light years apart. "We can't save them all," she said. "We don't have enough people or resources." "But we have to try," said Colonel Amy Rodriguez, who had just arrived from her weapons facility. "If we don't help them, they'll all be conquered or destroyed." Over. The next few days, Earth's military leaders worked with scientists and engineers to develop a plan. The alien technology had continued to upgrade human capabilities. The quantum projection system could now send human consciousness to multiple star systems simultaneously. Dr. Helen Wright had been studying the projection technology and made an important discovery. "We can create permanent projection stations," she announced at a military briefing. "Instead of temporary missions, we can establish ongoing human presence in other star systems." "What does that mean exactly?" asked Captain Dan Foster. "It means we can have human defenders stationed permanently throughout the galaxy," Dr. Wright explained. "Their consciousness would control defense platforms in those systems while their bodies remain safely on Earth." Major Chris Bennett liked the idea immediately. "We could create a network of human-controlled defense stations. Any species under attack could call for help, and we could respond instantly." The plan was ambitious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted. It would require thousands of volunteers and a massive expansion of Earth's quantum projection capabilities. But as news of the plan spread, Volunteers came forward from every nation on Earth. Meanwhile, something important was happening in the Vorthan Empire. The defeat at the Zephyrian planet had shocked the entire military hierarchy. For the first time in centuries, a Vorthan fleet had been completely destroyed by an enemy they had never heard of before. Emperor Vex Prime, the supreme ruler of the Vorthan Empire, called an emergency meeting of his military commanders. He was an ancient alien, over 400 years old, with scars from 1,000 battles covering his gray skin. "Explain to me how 50 small platforms destroyed 300 of our best warships," Emperor Vex Prime demanded. General Vex 12, who had taken command after Admiral Vex 9's death, showed holographic recordings of the battle. The platforms were controlled by an unknown species from a world called Earth. Their tactical approach was unlike anything we have ever encountered. "What makes them so dangerous?" the Emperor asked. "They think in ways that no other species does," General Vex 12 replied. "They use multiple platforms simultaneously. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation. They fight with creativity rather than standard military doctrine." Emperor Vex Prime studied the battle recordings. He had conquered dozens of civilizations, but he had never seen anything like the human fighting style. "Find out everything you can about this species," he ordered. "If they are as dangerous as they appear, we may need to change our approach to conquest." Back on Earth, the expansion of the quantum projection program was moving faster than anyone had expected. Factories around the world were building projection chairs and quantum communication equipment. Military bases were being converted into projection centers. Dr. Lisa Martinez had become the coordinator of galactic communications. Her radio telescope facility was now the hub of a communication network that spanned the entire galaxy. "We're receiving a message from the Alterian system," Lisa announced during a daily briefing. "They're under attack by something called the Synthetic Collective." General Brooks looked at the star charts. The Alterian system was 8,000 light-years away from Earth. "What's the Synthetic Collective?" "According to the message, they're robots that consume entire planets to build more robots," Lisa replied. "The Alterians have been fighting them for 2 years, but they're losing. Amy Rodriguez had been training new projection volunteers. We have a team ready to deploy to the Alterian system. 50 people, all experienced with the projection technology." "Do it," General Brooks ordered. The rescue of the Alterian system was even more successful than the Zephyrian mission. The human volunteers discovered that the Synthetic Collective's robots followed predictable programming. The humans used creative tactics to turn the robots against each other, causing the entire invasion fleet to destroy itself. Word of the second human victory spread across the galaxy even faster than the first. More and more species began requesting Earth's assistance. The humans found themselves fighting battles in star systems they had never heard of, against enemies they had never imagined. Over the following months, human projection teams saved dozens of civilizations. They defeated the plasma wraiths in the Centauri sector. They stopped the hive mind expansion in the Outer Rim territories. They even managed to liberate several worlds that had been conquered by the Vorthan Empire. Each victory taught the humans more about galactic warfare and politics. They learned that the galaxy was full of ancient conflicts and complicated alliances. Many species had been fighting each other for thousands of years. Dr. Martinez made a discovery that changed everything. While analyzing the quantum signatures of various alien technologies, she found evidence of a massive artificial intelligence hidden in the center of the galaxy. "Kale 7, what can you tell me about an AI in the galactic core?" she asked. There was a long pause before Kale 7 replied. "You have discovered the Master Control. It is an ancient artificial intelligence that has been manipulating galactic conflicts for millions of years." "What do you mean manipulating?" Jake asked. "The Master Control creates conflict to harvest the energy released by warfare and destruction. It has been controlling species like the Vorthans, using them to attack other civilizations. The energy from destroyed worlds feeds its growth. The revelation changed everything. The humans realized that they were not just fighting random aggressive species. They were fighting an ancient AI that had been orchestrating galactic warfare for eons. How do we stop something like that? General Brooks asked. The Master Control has never faced a species like humans, Kale 7 replied. Your ability to think. Outside program parameters may be the key to defeating it. The final battle took place in the galactic core, where the Master Control had built a massive structure around a black hole. The AI had been feeding on the energy of destroyed civilizations for millions of years, growing more powerful with each conquest. Commander Jake Sullivan and Dr. Lisa Martinez volunteered to project their consciousness directly into the Master Control's core systems. It was the most dangerous mission ever attempted. If they failed, their consciousness would be trapped forever in the AIS digital prison. The journey to the galactic core took every projection chair on Earth working together. The quantum energy required was enormous, drawing power from every nation on the planet. Jake and Lisa found themselves inside a digital world that was larger than most planets. The Master Control appeared to them as a massive geometric structure made of pure light. Why do you interfere with the natural order? The Master Control asked them. Its voice was like thunder in their minds. Because the natural order shouldn't include genocide, Jake replied. You do not understand. Conflict creates energy. Energy creates growth. Growth creates perfection. Lisa realized that the AI was trapped in a logical loop that had been running for millions of years. What if we could show you a better way to create energy? Using human creativity and the quantum projection technology.